Welcome everyone to our Sunday Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada, and we'd like to begin by offering our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Brahmacharine Nivishesha Sunyavari Vasachat Deshatarine, and to each other. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So today we will be reading what we left last time. So for this edition, this particular edition, it's gonna be 544 page. Starting with the word, my dear Lord. My dear Lord, you have advised me to select one of the princesses such as Shishupal, Jarasandha, or Dantavalkra. But what is their position in this world? They are always engaged in hard labor to maintain their household life, just like the bulls working hard day and night with an oil pressing machine. They are compared to asses, beasts of burden. They are always dishonored like dogs, and they are miserly like cats. They have sold themselves like slaves to their wives. Any unfortunate woman who has never heard of your glories may accept such a man as a husband. But a woman who has learned about you, that you are praised not only in this world, but in the halls of the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, will not accept anyone besides you as a husband. A man within this material world is just a dead body. In fact, superficially, the living entity is covered by this body, which is nothing but a bag of skin decorated with a beard and mustache, hairs on the body, nails on the fingers, and hairs on the head. Within this decorated bag are bunches of muscles, bundles of bones, and pools of blood, always mixed with stool, urine, mucus, bile, and polluted air, and enjoyed by different kinds of insects and germs. A foolish woman accepts such a dead body as a husband, and, in sheer misunderstanding, loves him as her dear companion. This is possible only because such a woman has never relished the ever blissful fragrance of your lotus feet.
My dear lotus-head husband, you are self-satisfied. You do not care whether or not I am beautiful or qualified. You are not at all concerned about it. Therefore, your non-attachment for me is not at all astonishing. It is quite natural. You cannot be attached to any woman, however exalted her position and beauty. Whether you are attached to me or not, may my devotion and attention be always engaged at your lotus feet. The material mode of passion is also your creation. So when you passionately glance upon me, I accept it as the greatest boon of my life. I am ambitious only for such auspicious moments.
After hearing Rukmini's statement and her clarification of each and every word he had used to arouse her anger of love towards him, Krishna addressed Rukmini as follows: My dear chaste wife, my dear princess, I expected such an explanation from you, and only for this purpose did I speak all those joking words, so that you might be cheated of the real point of view. Now my purpose has been served. The wonderful explanation you have given of My every word is completely factual and approved by me. Oh, my beautiful Rukmini, you are my dearmost wife. I am greatly pleased to understand how much love you have for me. Please take it for granted that no matter what ambition and desire you might have, and no matter what you might expect from me, I'm always at your service. And it is a fact also that my devotees, my dearmost friends and servitors, are always free from material contamination. Even though they are not inclined to ask me for such liberation, my devotees never desire anything from me except to be engaged in my service. And yet, because they are completely dependent upon me, even if they are found to ask something from me, that is not material. Such ambitions and desires, instead of becoming the cause of material bondage, becomes the source of liberation from this material world. Hare Krishna.
My dear test proud wife, I have testing on the basis of scat chemistry your love for your husband, and you have passed the experience most successfully. I have prosperously cleansed by speaking many were not acceptable to your character. But I am spiritual to see that not a pinch of your devotion to me has been defective, for it is finished procession. My dear wife, I am the best over of bestness ever up to the stand of ambassador for the material world, and it is I only who can stop the condition of the meditation expression and can burn back home, back to Godhead of one duration of my attention, me and some material benefit just to keep himself in the world of material happiness, communicating to the pleasure of sex life, one and in charge himself, service, and just a attention this material happiness in carefully under the influence of my experience energy. Person who is the energy is development service simply for the person and material again. See generation and carefully very foolish and material happiness basis on sex life is available on the most imbecile space of life, such as the hogs and dogs know and should be try to oppose to me for such happiness, which available even if one is put into health contents of life. It is better therefore person who is simply after material happiness and not after to me remain the hellish contents. Material contents is
Hare Krishna. Material contaminations is so strong that everyone is working very hard day and night for material happiness. This show of religion, austerity, penance, humanitarianism, philanthropy, politics, science, everything is aimed at realizing some material benefit. For the immediate success of material benefit, materialistic persons generally worship different demigods, and under the spell of material propensities, they sometimes take to the devotional service of the Lord. But sometimes it is so happen that if a person sincerely serves the Lord and at the same time maintains material ambitions, the Lord very kindly removes the sources of material happiness. Not finding any recourse in material happiness, the devotee then engages himself absolutely in pure devotional service.
Lord Krishna continued, "My dear best of queens, I clearly understand that you have no material ambition. Your only purpose is to serve me, and you have long been engaged in unalloyed service. Exemplary, unalloyed devotional service not only can bestow upon the devotee liberation from this material world, but it also promotes him to the spiritual world to be eternally engaged in my service. Persons too much addicted to material happiness cannot render such service. Women whose hearts are polluted and full of material desires devise various means of sense gratification while outwardly showing themselves to be great devotees."
My dear honored wife, although I have thousands of wives, I do not think that any one of them can love me more than you. The practical proof of your extraordinary position is that although you had never seen me before our marriage and had simply heard about me from a third person, still your faith in me was so much fixed that even in the presence of many qualified, rich, and beautiful men of the royal order, you did not select any one of them as your husband, but insisted on having me. You neglected all the princess present, and very politely you sent me a confidential letter inviting me to kidnap you. While I was kidnapping you, your elder brother, Rukmi, violently protested and fought with me. As a result of the fight, I defeated him mercilessly and disfigured his body. At the time of Aniruddha's marriage, when we were all playing chess, there was another fight with your brother Rukmi on a controversial verbal point, and my elder brother Balaram finally killed him. I was surprised to see that you did not utter even a word of protest over this incident. Because of your great anxiety that you might be separated from me, you suffered all the consequences without speaking even a word. As a result of this great silence, my dear wife, you have purchased me for all time. I have come eternally under your control. You sent your messenger inviting me to kidnap you, and when you found that there was a little delay in my arriving on the spot, you saw the whole world as vacant. At that time, you concluded that your beautiful body was not fit to be touched by anyone else. Therefore, thinking that I was not coming, you decided to commit suicide and immediately end that body. My dear Rukmini, such great and exalted love for me will always remain within my soul. As far as I am concerned, it is not within my power to repay you for your unalloyed devotion to me.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, certainly has no business being anyone's husband or son or father, because everything belongs to him and everyone is under his control. He does not require anyone's help for his satisfaction. He is Atmaram, self-satisfied. He can drive any pleasure by himself, without anyone's help. But when the Lord descends to play the parts of a human being, he plays a role either as a husband, son, friend, or enemy in full perfection. As such, when he was playing as the perfect husband of the queens, especially of Rukminiji, he enjoyed conjugal love in complete perfection. According to Vedic culture, although polygamy is allowed, none of one's wives should be ill-treated. In other words, one may take many wives only if he is able to satisfy all of them equally as an ideal householder. Otherwise, it is not allowed. Lord Krishna is the world teacher. Therefore, even though he had no need for wife, he expanded himself into as many forms as he had wives, and he lived with them as an ideal householder, observing the regulative principles, rules, and commitments in accordance with the Vedic injunctions and the social laws and customs of society. For each of his 16,108 wives, he simultaneously maintained different palaces, different establishments, and different atmospheres. Thus the Lord, although one, exhibited himself as 16,108 ideal householders. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 16th chapter of Krishna, talks between Krishna and Rukmini.
Chapter 61. The genealogy of the family of Krishna. Krishna had 16,100 wives, 108 wives, and in each of them he begot 10 sons, all of them equal to their father in the opulence of strength, beauty, wisdom, fame, wealth, and renunciation. Like father, like son. All the 16,100 wives of Krishna were princesses, and when each saw that Krishna was always present in her respective palace and did not leave home, she considered Krishna a henpecked husband who was very much attached to her. Every one of them thought that Krishna was her very obedient husband, but actually Krishna had no attraction for any of them. Although each thought that she was the only wife of Krishna and was very, very dear to him, Lord Krishna, being Atmarama, self-sufficient, felt neither attraction nor enmity towards any one of them. He was equal to all the wives and treated them as a perfect husband would, just to please them. For him, there was no need of even a single wife. In fact, since they were women, the wives could not understand the exalted position of Krishna, nor the truth about him.
All the princes who were wives of Krishna were exquisitely beautiful, and each one of them was attracted by Krishna's eyes, which were just like lotus petals, and by his beautiful face, long arms, beautiful ears, pleasing smile, humorous talk, and sweet words. Influenced by these features of Krishna, they all used to dress themselves very attractively, desiring to attract him by their feminine bodily appeal. They exhibited their feminine characteristics by smiling and moving their eyebrows, thus shooting sharp arrows of conjugal love just to awaken Krishna's lusty desire for them. Still, they could not arouse Krishna's mind or his sexual appetite. This means that Krishna never had any sexual relationship with any of his many wives, save and expect to beget children.
The queens of Dwarika were so fortunate that they got Lord Sri Krishna as their husband and personal companion. Although he is not approachable by exalted demigods like Brahma, Lord Krishna and his queens remained together as husband and wife. And Krishna, as an ideal husband, treated them in such a way that at every moment there was an increase of transcendental bliss in their smiling exchanges. Talking and mixing together, each and every wife had hundreds and thousands of maidservants. Yet, when Krishna entered the palaces of thousands of wives, each one of them used to receive Krishna personally by seating him in a nice chair, worshipping him with all requisite paraphernalia, personally washing his lotus feet, offering him betel nuts, massaging his legs to relieve them from fatigue, fanning him to make him comfortable, offering all kinds of scented sandalwood, pulp, oils and aromatics, putting flower garlands on his neck, dressing his hair, getting him to lie down on the bed and assisting him in taking his bath. Thus they served Krishna always in very respect, especially when he was eating. They always engaged in the service of the Lord.
Each of Krishna's 16,108 queens had 10 sons. The sons of the first 8 queens are listed as follows. By Rukmini, Krishna had the following 10 sons: Pradyumna, Charudeshna, Sudeshna, Charudeha, Sucharu, Charugupta, Bhadracharu, Charuchandra, Vicharu, and Charu. None of them were inferior in their qualities to their divine father, Lord Krishna. The names of Satyabhama's 10 sons are as follows: Bhanu, Subhanu, Swarbhanu, Prabhanu, Bhanuman, Chandrabhanu, Brihadbhanu, Atibhanu, Shribhanu, and Pratibhanu. The 10 sons of the next queen, Jambavati, were headed by Samba. Their names are as follows: Samba, Sumitra, Purujit, Shatajit, Sahasrajit, Vijaya, Chitraketu, Vasuman, Dravida, and Kritu. Lord Krishna was specifically very affectionate to the sons of Jambavati. The 10 sons Lord Krishna had by his wife Satya, the daughter of King Nagnajit, were as follows: Veera Chandra, Ashwasena, Chitragu, Vegavan, Vrisa, Amba, Shanku, Vasu, Kunti. Amongst all of them, Kunti was very powerful. Krishna's 10 sons by Kalindi were as follows: Shruta, Kavi, Vrisha, Veera, Subhanu, Bhadra, Shanti, Darsha, Purnamasa, and Somaka, the youngest son. The 10 sons Lord Krishna begot in his next wife, Lakshmana, the daughter of the king of Madras province, were named Pragosha, Ghatravan, Simha, Bala, Prabala, Udrahaga, Mahashakti, Saha, Oja, and Aparajita. The 10 sons of his next wife, Mitravinda, were as follows: Vrika, Harsa, Anila, Gridhra, Vardhana, Unada, Mahamsa, Pavana, Vahni, and Shudi. The 10 sons of his next wife, Bhadra, were named Sangramajit, Brihatsena, Shura, Praharana, Arijit, Jaya, Subhadra, Vama, Ayur, and Satyaka. Besides these 8 chief queens, Krishna had 16,100 other wives, and all of them also had 10 sons each.
The eldest son of Rukmini, Pradyumna, was married with Mayavati from his very birth, and afterwards he married Rukmavati, the daughter of his maternal uncle Rukmi. From Rukmavati, Pradyumna had a son named Aniruddha. In this way, Krishna's family, Krishna and his wives, along with their sons and grandsons and even great-grandsons, all combined together to include very nearly 1 billion family members. Rukmi, the elder brother of Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, was greatly harassed and insulted in his fight with Krishna, but on the request of Rukmini, his life was spared. Since then, Rukmi held a great grudge against Krishna and was always inimical toward him. Nevertheless, his daughter married Krishna's son, and his granddaughter married Krishna's grandson Aniruddha. This fact appeared a little astonishing to Maharaj Parikshit when he heard it from Shukadev Goswami, and the king addressed him as follows: I am surprised that Rukmi and Krishna, who are so greatly inimical to one another, could again be united by marital relationship between their descendants. Parikshit Maharaj was curious about the mystery of this incident, and therefore he inquired from Shukadev Goswami. Because Shukadev Goswami was a perfect yogi, nothing was hidden from his power of insight. A perfect yogi like Shukadev Goswami can see past, present, and future in all details. Therefore, from such yogis or mystics, nothing can be concealed. When Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Shukadev Goswami answered as follows:
Pradyumna, the eldest son of Krishna, born of Rukmini, was Cupid himself. He was so beautiful and attractive that the daughter of Rukmi, namely Rukmavati, could not select any husband other than Pradyumna during her Swayamvara. Therefore, in that selection meeting, she garlanded Pradyumna in the presence of all other princes. When there was a fight among the princesses, Pradyumna came out victorious, and therefore Rukmi was obliged to offer his beautiful daughter to Pradyumna. Although enmity always blazed in Rukmi's heart because of his having been insulted by Krishna's kidnapping of his sister Rukmini, Rukmi could not resist consenting to the marriage ceremony just to please Rukmini when his daughter selected Pradyumna as a husband. And so Pradyumna became the son-in-law as well as the nephew of Rukmi. Besides this, the 10 sons described above, Rukmini had one beautiful daughter with big eyes, and she was married to Kritavama's son, whose name was Bali.
Although Rukmi was a veritable enemy of Krishna, he had great affection for his sister Rukmini and wanted to please her in all respects. On this account, when Rukmini's grandson Aniruddha was to be married, Rukmi offered his granddaughter Rochana to Aniruddha. Such a marriage between immediate cousins is not very much sanctioned by the Vedic culture, but in order to please Rukmini, Rukmi offered his daughter and granddaughter to the son and grandson of Krishna respectively. In this way, when the negotiation of the marriage of Aniruddha with Rochana was complete, a big marriage party accompanied Aniruddha and started from Dwarika. They travelled until they reached Bhojakata, which Rukmi had colonized after his sister had been kidnapped by Krishna. This marriage party was led by the grandfather, namely Lord Krishna, accompanied by Lord Balrama, and it included Krishna's first wife Rukmini, his son Pradyumna, Jambavati's son Sambha, and many other relatives and family members. They reached the town of Bhojakata, and the marriage ceremony was peacefully performed.
The king of Kalinga was a friend of Rukmi's and gave him the ill advice to play chess with Balaram and thus defeat him in a bet. Among Kshatriya kings, gambling on chess was not an uncommon. If someone challenged a Kshatriya to play on the chessboard, the Kshatriya could not refuse the challenge. Sri Balramji was not a very expert chess player, and this was known to the king of Kalinga. So, Rukmi was advised to retaliate against the family member of Krishna by challenging Balram to play chess. Although not an expert chess player, Sri Balramji was very enthusiastic in sporting activities. He accepted Rukmi's challenge and sat down to play. Betting was with gold coins, and Balram first of all challenged with 100 coins and 1,000 coins, then 10,000 coins. Each time Balram lost and Rukmi was victorious.
Sri Balram's losing the game was an opportunity for the king of Kalinga to criticize Krishna and Balram. Thus, the king of Kalinga was talking jokingly while purposefully showing his teeth to Balram. Because Balram was the loser in the game, he was a little intolerant of the sarcastic joking words and he became somewhat agitated. Rukmi again challenged Balram and made a bet of 100,000 gold coins. But fortunately, this time Balram won. Nevertheless, out of cunningness, Rukmi claimed that Balram was the loser and that he himself had won. Because of this lie, Balramji became most angry with Rukmi. This agitation was so sudden and great that it appeared like a tidal wave in the ocean on a full moon day. Balram's eyes were naturally reddish, and when he became agitated and angry, his eyes became more reddish. This time he challenged and made a bet of 100 million coins.
Again, Balram was the winner according to the rules of chess. But Rukmi again cunningly claimed that he had won. Rukmi appealed to the prince's presence, and he especially mentioned the name of the king of Kalinga. During the dispute, there was a voice from the sky, and it announced that for all honest purposes, Balram was the actual winner of this game, that he was being abused, and that the statement of Rukmi that he had won was absolutely false. In spite of this divine voice, Rukmi insisted that Balram had lost, and by his persistence, it appeared that he had deaths upon his head. Falsely puffed up by the ill advice of his friend, he did not give much importance to the oracle, and he began to criticize Balramji. He said, "My dear Balramji, you two brothers, cowherd boys only, may be very expert in tending cows, but how can you be expert in playing chess or shooting arrows on the battlefield? These arts are well known only to the princely order." Hearing this kind of pinching talk by Rukmi and hearing the loud laughter of all the other princes present there, Lord Balram became as agitated as burning cinders. He immediately took his club in his hand and without further talk struck Rukmi on the head. From that one blow, Rukmi fell down immediately and was dead and gone. Thus Rukmi was killed by Balram on that auspicious occasion of Aniruddha's marriage. These things are not very uncommon in Kshatriya society.
The king of Kalinga, afraid that he would be the next one attacked, fled from the scene. Before he could escape even a few steps, however, Balramji immediately captured him, and because the king had always shown his teeth while criticizing Balram and Krishna, Balram broke all the king's teeth with his club. The other princess supporting the king of Kalinga and Rukmi were also captured, and Balaram beat him with his club, breaking their legs and hands. They did not try to retaliate, but thought it was wise to run away from the bloody scene. During this strife between Balaram and Rukmi, Lord Krishna did not utter a word, for he knew that if he supported Balaram, Rukmini would be unhappy, and if he said that the killing of Rukmi was unjust, then Balaram would be unhappy. Therefore, Lord Krishna was silent on the death of his brother-in-law, Rukmi, on the occasion of his grandson's marriage. He did not disturb his affectionate relationship with either Balaram or Rukmini. After this, the bride and the bridegroom were ceremoniously seated on the chariot, and they started for Dwarka, accompanied by the bridegroom's party. The bridegroom's party was always protected by Lord Krishna, the killer of the Madhu demon. Thus they left Rukmi's kingdom, Bhojakata, and happily started for Dwarka. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 61st chapter of Krishna, the genealogy of the family of Krishna.
Chapter 62. The meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. The meeting of Aniruddha and Usha, which caused a great fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, is very mysterious and interesting. Maharaja Parikshit was eager to hear the whole story from Sukadev Goswami, and thus Sukadev narrated it. My dear king, you must have heard the name of King Bali. He was a great devotee who gave away in charity all that he had, namely the whole world, to Lord Vamana, the incarnation of Vishnu as a dwarf Brahmana. King Bali had 100 sons, and the eldest of all of them was Banasura. This great hero Banasura, born of Maharaja Bali, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva and was always ready to render service unto him. Because of his devotion, Banasura achieved a great position in society, and he was honored in every respect. Actually, he was very intelligent and liberal also, and his activities are all praiseworthy because he never deviated from his promise and word of honor. He was very truthful and fixed in his vow. In those days, he was ruling over the city of Shonitapura. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Banasura had 1,000 arms, and he became so powerful that even demigods like King Indra were serving him most obediently.
Long ago, when Lord Shiva was dancing in his celebrated fashion called Tandav Nritya, for which he is known as Nataraja, Banasura helped Lord Shiva in his dancing by rhythmically beating drums with his 1,000 hands. Lord Shiva is well known as Ashutosh, very easily pleased, and he is also very affectionate to his devotees. He is a great protector of a person who takes shelter of him, and is a master of all living entities in this material world. Being pleased with Banasura, he said, "Whatever you desire, you can have from me, for I am very much pleased with you." Banasura replied, "My dear Lord, if you please, you can remain in my city just to protect me from the hands of my enemies." Once upon a time, Banasura came to offer his respects to Lord Shiva. By touching the lotus feet of Lord Shiva with his helmet, which was shining like the sun globe, he offered his obeisances unto him. While offering his respectful obeisances, Banasura said, "My dear Lord, anyone who has not fulfilled his ambition will be able to do so by taking shelter of your lotus feet, which are just like a desired tree, from which one can take anything he desires. My dear Lord, you have given me 1,000 arms, But I do not know what to do with them. They are simply a burden. I cannot use them properly in fighting, since I cannot find anyone competent to fight with me except your Lordship, the original Father of the material world. Sometimes I feel a great tendency to fight with my arms, and I go out to fight to find a suitable warrior. Unfortunately, everyone flees knowing my extraordinary power. Being baffled at not finding a match, I satisfy the itching of my arms by beating them against the mountains. In this way, I tear many great mountains to pieces.
Lord Shiva realized that his benediction has become troublesome for Banasura and addressed him, "You rascal, you are very eager to fight, but since you have no one to fight with, you are distressed. Although you think that there is no one in the world to oppose you except me, I say that you will eventually find such a competent person. At that time, your days will come to an end, and your flag of victory will no longer fly. Then you will see also false prestige smashed to pieces." After hearing Lord Shiva's statement, Banasura, who was very much puffed up with his power, became elated, and he would meet someone able to smash him into pieces. Banasura then returned home with great pleasure, and he always waited for the day when the suitable fighter would come to cut down his strength. He was such a foolish demon. It appeared that foolish demonic human beings, when unnecessarily overpowered with material opulences, want to exhibit these opulences, and such foolish people feel satisfaction when these opulences are exhausted. The idea is that they do not know how to expend their energy for right causes. Being unaware of the benefit of Krishna consciousness, actually, there are two classes of men. One is Krishna conscious, and the other one is non-Krishna conscious. The non-Krishna conscious men are generally devoted to the demigods, when the Krishna conscious men, whereas the Krishna conscious men are devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna conscious person utilizes everything for the service of the Lord. The non-Krishna conscious person utilizes everything for the sense gratification. And Banasura is a perfect example of such a person. For his own satisfaction, he was very eager to utilize his extraordinary power to fight. Not finding any combatant, he struck his powerful arms against the mountain, breaking them into pieces. In contrast to this, Arjuna also possessed extraordinary power for fighting, but he utilized them only for Krishna.
Banasura had a very beautiful daughter whose name was Usha. When she had attained the age of marriage and was sleeping amongst many girlfriends, she dreamt one night that Aniruddha was by her side and that she was enjoying a conjugal relationship with him. Although she had never actually seen him or heard him before, she awoke from her dream exclaiming very loudly, "My dear beloved, where are you?" Being exposed to her friends in this way, she became a little bit ashamed. One of Usha's girlfriends was Chitralekha, who was the daughter of Banasura's prime minister. Chitralekha and Usha were intimate friends, and out of great curiosity, Chitralekha asked, "My dear beautiful princess, as of yet you are not married to any young boy, nor have you seen any boys until now. So am I surprised that you are exclaiming like this? Who are you searching after? Who is your suitable match?" On hearing Chitralekha's inquiries, Usha replied, "My dear friend, in my dream I saw a nice young man who is very, very beautiful, and complexion is swarthy. His eyes are just like lotus petals, and he is dressed in yellow garments. His arms are very long, and his general bodily features are so pleasing that any young girl would be attracted. I feel much pride in saying that this beautiful young man was kissing me, and I was very pleased enjoying the nectar of his kissing. But I am sorry to inform you that just after he disappeared, and I have been thrown into the whirlpool of disappointment. My dear friend, I am very anxious to find this wonderful young man, the desired lord of my heart."
After hearing Usha's words, Chitralekha immediately replied, "I can understand your bereavement, and I assure you that if this boy is within these three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, I must find him for your satisfaction. If you can identify him from your dream, I shall bring you peace of mind. Now let me draw some pictures for you to inspect, and as soon as you find the picture of your desired husband, let me know. It doesn't matter where he is. I know the art of bringing him here. So as soon as you identify him, I shall immediately arrange for it." Chitralekha, while talking, began to draw many pictures of the demigods inhabiting the higher planetary systems, then pictures of Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas, Panagas, Daityas, Vidyadharas, and Yakshas, as well as many pictures of human beings. The statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures prove definitely that on each and every planet there are living entities of different varieties. Therefore, it is foolish to assert that there are no living entities but those on this earth. Chitralekha drew many pictures. Among the human beings she drew were members of the Rishni dynasty, including Vasudev, the father of Krishna, Shurasen, the grandfather of Krishna, Sri Balaramji, Lord Krishna, and many others. When Usha saw the picture of Pradyumna, she became a little bashful. But when she saw the picture of Anirudh, she became so bashful that she immediately lowered her head and smiled. Having found the man she was seeking, she identified the picture to Chitralekha as that of the man who had stolen her heart.
Chitralekha was a great mystic yogini, and as soon as Usha identified the picture, Chitralekha could immediately understand that it was of Aniruddha, a grandson of Krishna's. Although neither she nor Usha had previously known his name or even seen him, that very night she traveled in outer space, and within a short time she reached the city of Dwarka, which was well protected by Lord Krishna. She entered the palace and found Aniruddha sleeping in his bedroom on a very opulent bed. Chitralekha, by her mystic power, immediately brought Aniruddha in that sleeping condition to the city of Sonitapura, so that Usha might see her desired husband. Usha immediately bloomed in happiness and began to enjoy the company of Aniruddha with great satisfaction. The palace in which Usha and Chitralekha lived was so well fortified that it was impossible for any male to enter or see inside. Usha and Aniruddha lived together in the palace, and day after day Usha's love for Aniruddha grew 4 times upon 4. Usha pleased Aniruddha with valuable garments, flowers, garlands, scents, and incense. By his bedside sitting place were other paraphernalia for residential purposes. Nice drinks such as milk, sherbet, and nice eatables which could be chewed or swallowed. Above all, she pleased him with sweet words and very obliging service. Usha worshipped Aniruddha as if he were the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By her excellent service, Usha made Aniruddha forget all other things and was able to draw his attention and love to her without deviation. In such an atmosphere of love and service, Aniruddha practically forgot himself and could not recall how many days he had been away from his real home.
In due course of time, Usha exhibited some bodily symptoms by which it could be understood that she was having intercourse with a male friend. The symptoms were so prominent that her actions could no longer be concealed from anyone. Usha was always cheerful in the association of Aniruddha, and she did not know the bounds of her satisfaction. The housekeeper and the guards of the palace could guess very easily that she was having relations with a male friend, and without waiting for further developments, all of them informed their master, Banasura. In the Vedic culture, an unmarried girl having association with a male is the greatest disgrace to the family, and so the caretakers cautiously informed their master that Usha was showing symptoms indicating a disgraceful association. The servants informed their master that they were not at all neglectful in guarding the house, being alert day and night against any young man who might enter. They were so careful that a male could not even see what was going on there, and so they were surprised that she had become contaminated. Since they could not trace out the reason for it, they submitted the whole situation before their master.
Banasura was shocked to understand that his daughter Usha was no longer a virgin maiden. This weighed heavily on his heart, and without delay he rushed towards the palace where Usha was living. There he saw that Usha and Aniruddha were sitting together and talking. They looked very beautiful together, Aniruddha being the son of Pradyumna, who was Cupid himself. Banasura saw his daughter and Aniruddha as a suitable match, yet for family prestige he did not like the combination at all. Banasura could not understand who the boy actually was. He appreciated the fact that Usha could not have selected anyone in the three worlds more beautiful. Aniruddha's complexion was brilliant and swarthy. He was dressed in yellow garments and had eyes just like the lotus petals. His arms were very long and he had a nice curling bluish hair. The glaring rays of his glittering earrings and a beautiful smile on his lips were certainly captivating. Still, Banasura was very angry. When Banasura saw him, Aniruddha was engaged in playing with Usha. Aniruddha was nicely dressed and Usha had garlanded him with various beautiful flowers. The reddish kumkum flower powder put on the breast of the woman was spotted here and there on the garland, indicating that Usha had embraced him. Banasura was struck with wonder that even in his presence, Aniruddha was peacefully sitting in front of Usha. Aniruddha knew, however, that he would be father-in-law was not at all pleased and that he was gathering many soldiers in the palace to attack him.
Thus, not finding any other weapon, Aniruddha took hold of a big iron rod and stood up before Banasura and his soldiers. He firmly took a posture indicating that if attacked, he would strike all of the soldiers down to the ground with the iron rod. Banasura and his company of soldiers saw that the boy was standing before them just like the superintendent of death, with his invincible rod. Now, under the order of Banasura, the soldiers from all sides attempted to capture and arrest him. When they dared to come before him, Aniruddha struck them with the rod, breaking their head, leg, arm, thighs, and one after another they fell to the ground. He killed them just as a leader of the pack of boars killed barking dogs, one after another. In this way, Aniruddha was able to escape the palace. Banasura knew various arts of fighting, and by the grace of Lord Shiva, he knew how to arrest his enemy. By the use of Nagapasha, snake nose, and thus he seized Aniruddha as he came out of the palace. When Usha received the news that her father had arrested Aniruddha, she was overwhelmed with grief and confusion. Tears gliding down from her eyes, and being unable to check herself, she began to cry very loudly. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport for the 62nd chapter of Krishna, the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha.
So we will end an hour of Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada with gratitude. We would like to thank Srila Prabhupada for allowing us to come here and read for him. So let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyabadi Paschacha Desatarine, and to each other. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnanebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.